Well, at ease, paratroopers. If you like that reference from HBO's hit series Band of Brothers, you're going to like this podcast. My name is Kevin Scott, and after 20 years in the Army, I discovered something unexpected. The toughest battles weren't behind me, they were just different. This is the Enduring Mindset podcast. Here in our inaugural season, The Invisible Veteran, we'll explore what it really takes to reclaim purpose, rebuild identity, and restore connection after service. This podcast isn't just for veterans, it's for anyone navigating transition. Leaders, spouses, teammates, anyone asking, who am I now and what comes next? Each week, I'll share lessons from my journey, stories from others who've walked similar paths, and tools to help you build what I call an enduring mindset, one forged through adversity, guided by purpose, and grounded in service to others. Before we dive in, I just want to thank you for being here. I know there are literally thousands of other things you could be listening to, and the fact you chose this podcast, it means a lot. My hope is that you walk away each week with something useful, a story, a reminder, or even just a little encouragement. Now, if you've been with me since episode 1, you know this journey is new. I've just launched this podcast and recently stepped into this chapter of my life as an author and speaker. Honestly, I thought we'd spend a few weeks laying groundwork, talking about transition, purpose, identity, connection. But God has a way of setting the timeline, not us. And here we are in September, Suicide Awareness Month. And I felt Him pressing on me, clear as day, don't wait. Don't dance around it. Start here. See, this isn't just an issue out there, it's personal. Just like you, I'm sure, I've lost friends, I've lost family, I've seen what silence costs. If I'm going to ask you to build an enduring mindset, one forged in adversity, guided by purpose, and grounded in service to others, then I can't avoid the hardest battles we face. I do want to preface this by saying I'm not a licensed therapist, psychologist, or psychiatrist. I'm just someone who's experienced a lot, and I'm trying to share things that I found that work. Okay, so if we're going to have this conversation honestly, we have to start by identifying the problem. Let's start with the numbers. According to the World Health Organization, globally, there were 727,000 deaths by suicide last year. To put that into context, the population of Denver, Colorado is 729,000 people, according to the last census. So, each year we lose the population of Denver across the world to suicide. If we zoom in just a little bit to the United States, we lose between 49,000 and 50,000 people to suicide each year. If we zoom into our population, the veteran population, we all know the number, 22 a day. An article by Mission Roll Call published in March of 2024 has a different take. They said, according to the VA's most recent National Veteran Suicide Prevention Annual Report in 2024, an average of 17.6 veterans die by suicide every single day. Although this number is widely accepted, the real number may be even higher. An Operation Deep Dive report by America's Warrior Partnership, AWP, suggests that veteran suicides are significantly underreported. AWP suggests that as many as 24 veterans die by suicide per day, with an additional 20 dying by self-injury mortality, which would be something like an overdose. This totals to a staggering 44 veterans who die by suicide per day. That's about 2.5 times more than the VA's estimate. Mission Roll Call acknowledges the VA's cautious approach in classifying overdoses as suicides, but the discrepancy between the two reports highlights a deeper issue. We need better data, better definitions, and more transparent reporting. Without accurate data, prevention strategies will always fall short. Those numbers are heavy, they're staggering, and they're heartbreaking. But here's the truth. Statistics don't change lives. Stories do. Conversations do. And the reason too many of us never have these conversations is stigma. We've built a culture, especially in the military and the veteran communities, where toughness means silence, where asking for help feels like failure. but that silence is literally killing us. If we're serious about fighting this battle, then the first step has to be tearing down the stigma around mental health. For far too long, mental health has been treated like a weakness, something to hide, deny, or push down. And in the military especially, that culture runs deep. We're taught to suck it up, drive on, and never show weakness. That's what kept us alive in combat. The problem is that same mindset that keeps you alive on the battlefield can kill you at home. So, number one, let's normalize seeking help. If I broke my leg, no one would tell me to walk it off. But when our minds or hearts are broken, we're told to toughen up. And that double standard is deadly. It takes more courage to say, I need help, than it does to keep quiet. Silence is easy. Vulnerability is hard. If you haven't heard of Dakota Meyer, you've been living under a rock for the last 10 to 15 years. Dakota Meyer was a sergeant in the Marine Corps and received the Medal of Honor for heroic actions taken in Afghanistan. After receiving the Medal of Honor, Dakota Meyer admitted he struggled with suicidal thoughts and turned to alcohol to cope. What saved him wasn't staying silent, it was reaching out for help and later openly talking about it. His vulnerability became a source of strength for others. I can attest to this. As I was retiring, you go through all your checklists and appointments, and I had the dreaded VA mental health appointment. Luckily, I was paired with a phenomenal mental health professional who listened to my story, walked me through the things I'd been through, and put a name to the things I was feeling: anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. I literally broke down crying in her office, and she asked, are you okay? And I was like, yes. To be told I'm not crazy, that there's actually a name and a reason for the things I'm feeling, is so liberating. And that was the first time I was able to make any sort of productive movement in my mental health. People don't fake being injured. They fake being okay, especially when it comes to mental health. As veterans, as leaders, we are literally the leaders of our society. People use us as a moral compass to gauge what is right and wrong. We have an obligation to talk openly about mental health because it gives permission for others to do the same. If we can talk about a sucking chest wound or some other gruesome injury on the battlefield, we should be able to talk about a broken spirit. That's not weakness, that's strength. So removing the stigma is the first step, but it's not the only step. We can't stop there, because even if we talk about mental health openly, we're still sending thousands of men and women out of the military every year into a system that isn't preparing them for what comes next. That's where the second piece comes in. We have to improve the transition process. If you've gotten out of the military, I'm sure you have the same feelings I do, which is it is the blind leading the blind. First, you have to deal with your chain of command, people who are still in the military. And as much as they love you and respect you, you're leaving the brotherhood. You are leaving the military, and there's going to be some saltiness about it. Whether you did 3 years or you did 30 years, you are leaving the fold. People are not necessarily going to go out of their way to make your transition smooth. They still have med pros and PT tests and quarterly training briefs and all these other things that are no longer going to apply to you, but you're still a number on their books, and they have to quantify and justify why their stats are lower than they should be. Most people in command positions either don't understand because they're so far removed from the everyday life of boots on the ground soldiers, that would be typically battalion, brigade, or higher, that they don't understand how difficult it is to leave until it's their turn to leave. Or, they're a company grade leader and they don't know how to tell their boss that they don't matter. Like, their stats don't matter. They're going to be off the books. Why does Why do they need to take a PT test 2 weeks before they get out? Like, that's ridiculous. Regulation state you should have 6 to 12 months, preferably 12 to 18 months to begin your transition. We all know that doesn't happen. You're the first person picked for staff duty or to do KP or whatever BS duty they don't want to pull from a line unit where there's real soldiers. Oh, you're getting out, you're quitting, you can go do this garbage detail. And then you're either exhausted and have to try and go to an appointment, or you miss it completely because they don't care. The mission comes first until the day you get out. It is literally the blind leading the blind. You have people in the military who've never gotten out trying to tell you what life is going to be like when you get out. Or, God love them, the people that work on base, on military installations, they're still in the military. They haven't gotten out. They might have stopped serving and just donned on khakis and a polo instead of uniform, but they're still in the military footprint. Unless they ventured out of the military footprint and lived life away from it, they have no clue what the real world is like. They don't understand how important a resume is. Have you done a resume writing class with these transition services? They're terrible. I have. I'm on my 3rd summer in a row looking for a job, and I've turned to AI to start reading my resumes and writing them, and I can't get a job. This is crazy. I have 20 years military experience. I got my bachelor's degree while I was in uniform. I completed my master's degree 2 years after retiring. I did everything that the military said would make me a hot commodity. I've got leadership, I've got awards, I've got the deployments, all these cool things that I could put on my resume. I've got undergraduate and graduate level degrees. I can't even get a job as a security officer at a Marriott hotel. I literally just got turned down for one 2 nights ago. It's embarrassing. Transition is difficult. It is full of rejection. It is full of trying to figure out how to talk about yourself when you've been told not to think or talk about yourself your whole career. You're trying to sell yourself to people who don't understand your language, and everything you do comes off as harsh. The way we talk, the way we walk, the way we carry ourselves, it's aggressive, and it's meant to do so because that's how you survive on the battlefield. Transitioning from that military mindset to a civilian mindset is very difficult. And if you don't have someone who's already done it in your corner helping you, it can be daunting and it can be devastating. So far, we've talked about the stigma and we've talked about transition. But even if we get both of those right, there's still a third piece that's critical, and that's connection. The truth is, the opposite of suicide isn't just survival, it's community. It's being seen, being known, being part of something bigger than yourself. Without that, we stay isolated, and isolation is where despair grows. Like I just said, suicide thrives in isolation, and connection saves lives. We all need a tribe in uniform, and especially when we're out of it. When you leave the military, you don't just leave a job. You leave a family. You lose a sense of belonging, the feeling that someone's always got your back, that you're part of something bigger than yourself. And that reminds me of a story. I'm sure you've heard it, but if not, it goes like this. There's a soldier who's stuck in a hole and can't get out. A sergeant comes by and gives the soldier a shovel and tells him to dig himself out. The soldier tries, but on his own, the hole only gets deeper. Then an officer comes by and tells the soldier in the hole, hey, use the tools your NCO gave you, and he throws a bucket in there. The young soldier in the hole fills up the bucket with the shovel, but the hole only gets deeper still. Eventually, another low-ranking soldier comes by, looks in the hole and the soldier's struggling, and he jumps down to get in the hole with him. The soldier says, what are you doing? Now we're both in a hole and we can't get out of it. The soldier that jumped in simply says, don't worry, I've been in a hole myself before. I know how to get out. That really resonated with me when I've read this, and especially as I've read it multiple times after getting out, that you have to have someone on your team. In Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 10, it says, 2 are better than 1. If either fails, one can help the other up. God built us for connection, and even warriors can't fight alone. So personal story on this, it's actually a 2-pronged story. The last unit I was in, was different for me. It was a transportation unit. I was military police, but they had an empty billet, and ended up going on deployment with them. It was a good deployment, met a lot of wonderful people, and none more so than the sergeant major of the unit. He was very pivotal in my retirement process and since. So I'd say about 30, 45 days after I started terminal leave. Mind you, if you listen to episode 1, I was going through a divorce. I just moved back to Michigan. Retirement was not this sunshine and rainbows experience. Anyways, hear my phone ringing, look down, and it's the sergeant major. Picked it up. How's it going, sergeant major? He's like, good. How are you? Chatted for a few minutes, but he had the wherewithal and is the epitome of a leader to check on me because he knew that it was going to be a difficult process. The second part to that story is in April of this year, I was at a conference in Los Angeles and we had some phenomenal speakers. And if you're a Big 10 or Big 12 or Pac-12, sports fan, then you probably know who Ashley Adamson is. She's one of the main football broadcasters. When she was doing the Pac-12, she was with her partner Yogi Roth, and obviously the Pac-12 went away. She's now doing the Big 10, but phenomenal speaker. During one of her speeches, she had us do an exercise, and she's like, take your phones out. We literally took our cell phones out, and she's like, I want you to send a text to someone who is pivotal for you being in the position you are right now, right? So who is someone important in your life who did or said something that impacted you to the point where you are right now? And it was the same sergeant major. I thought exactly of that phone call. And then I thought about conversations we had as I was getting ready to retire during our last deployment. As I mentioned in episode 1, I was in the pipeline to go to the Michigan State Police Academy. And he was like, Kev, like, you're a good dude. I understand your background and your education is in criminal justice, and going to be a law enforcement officer after the Army makes total sense, but I think you have more to offer than that. You have gifts, and I would encourage you to lean into those gifts. It's taken me a little bit longer to find out exactly what that meant, but here I am trying to identify and use those gifts. So he was the one I sent that text message to. And he responded within minutes, and he told me it made his day. And the power of just a short message to someone can have the most positive impact. You never know. So check on your people, ask the hard questions. Don't settle for I'm fine. Sometimes the most life-saving words you can say are, I'm here, I see you, and you're not alone. So here's my challenge to you. Who's one person you can reach out to this week? Call them, ask them to grab some coffee, lunch, whatever. Even just shoot them a text or a message on Instagram. Just reach out, right? Because the power of being seen, being heard is powerful. We can't always stop the storms in someone's life, but we can sit with them in it. Connection doesn't erase pain, but it reminds people that they don't have to carry it alone. To recap, the 3 pillars are remove the stigma, improve the transition, and strengthen connection and community. None of this is easy. Every single one of us can do something. We can talk, we can check in, we can reach out, we can remind each other that nobody is invisible. If you're listening right now and you're struggling, hear me. You are not alone. Call 988. Reach out to someone you trust. Your story isn't finished yet, and the world is better with you in it. Some things that I have found useful personally in my struggles dealing with transition and fighting those negative thoughts that come into my mind are watching the TV show Ted Lasso. If you've never seen it, it is hands down my favorite TV show of all time. They handle things like mental health, divorce, identity, connection, sexuality with class. It's funny. It's sports oriented. I've watched it 11 times. It is literally one of the best TV shows. It's well written, and fans of the show just absolutely adore it. Another one is finding Joe Rogan's podcast, and he has one episode where he talks about live your life like there's a camera crew following you. right? Like you're in a movie, you're the hero, and you're at your low point, and you're about to make your epic comeback. Pretend there's someone following you around with a camera. What are you doing? Is the audience going to believe you that you're trying your best to, dig yourself out of that hole? And the last thing is learn to love yourself. An episode of Ted Lasso, Ted's talking to Jamie, who is the young, cocky star on the soccer team, and he asks Jamie, would you rather be a lion or a panda? And Jamie responds, Coach, I'm me. Why would I want to be anything else? And Ted responds, I don't think you realize how psychologically healthy that actually is. The world is a mean and nasty place. There's going to be enough naysayers and enough hardships coming. You don't need to add to it on top of yourself. I'm terrible at this. If I heard people talking to someone I loved the way I talk to myself, I'd probably be in jail for assault. Talk to yourself nicely. The world can't love you until you start loving yourself. Thanks for joining me today on the Enduring Mindset podcast. If this episode spoke to you, share it with a friend, a teammate, or someone who might need it. Remember, this season is about the invisible veteran reclaiming purpose, rebuilding identity, and restoring connection after service. Before you go, here's your challenge for the week. Check in on one friend. I'm Kevin. This is the Enduring Mindset podcast. Until next time, stay grounded in purpose and never forget you are not invisible. Fall out.